Take ownership of everything in your world, the good and the bad.
One of the points here is the balance of extreme ownership versus holding others accountable. And what that really means, or what another way of looking at that is, it's really extreme ownership versus decentralized command. So decentralized command it's one of the laws of combat that Leif and I write about in the book. Decentralized command. And what that means is everybody leads. That means everybody's a leader. And that's what you want. And that is the complete opposite of extreme ownership. So if extreme ownership, I'm going to own everything. Decentralized command is I'm going to let everyone else lead. So there's a real contradiction, a real dichotomy there. So what you have to do is balance it. You have to balance. That's the only way to sort of rectify or reconcile those two opposing forces, because you do have to have extreme ownership of everything. That is true. And at the same time, you have to have decentralized command, because you can't be everywhere at once, and you have to let your frontline leaders lead. So you have to balance them.
Jocko Willink discusses why people have an issue. The balance of extreme ownership versus holding others accountable. There's another way of looking at this. Really extreme ownership versus decentralized command. Decentralized command is when everybody leads. Willink says this is what you want. It's the complete opposite of extreme ownership. Jocko says that the burden of not bringing every man home from a mission made him want to teach and impart his knowledge on the next generation of Navy SEALs. Control what you can control to outfight the enemy. Maintain discipline in everything that you do, so that when the enemy does show itself, you have the ability to outsmart them. Control what you can control.
Honestly, SEAL training is this big, they try and put this big mystical thing on SEAL training, and it's actually not that big of a deal. You go there, I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, because it's hard, but you go there, you have to run, swim, do a bunch of push-ups, pull-ups, dips, rope climbs. That's what you do. Sometimes you don't get to sleep very much. Sometimes you're really cold, but it's all just not that big of a deal. You go there, you don't quit. It's not some big life-changing experience. I didn't have some eureka moment about my inner self or anything like that. You show up, you don't quit. That's what training is. And so and plus it's a little tiny part of your career. I mean, the times when you get to the SEAL teams, you're going to be colder, you're going to be more tired, you're going to work harder, you're going to be more, you're going to be put out more physically when you're in the SEAL teams. So the training is not that big of a deal. It takes 6 months, you get through it, and you're done, and then you actually start your career. So basic underwater demolition SEAL training, buds. It's hard. It gets rid of people that don't really want to be there, but it's not some big mystical thing.
When you're flying back here to San Diego and you know you're gonna see your friends again, and you know you're gonna see your family again, and you know you're just gonna go ahead and carry on with the rest of your life. And at the same time, you also know that you didn't bring home all your men, and that's something you're gonna have to live with. And that's something that's not gonna go away. And that burden, it drove me. It drove me to wanna train and teach what I learned on the battlefield to the next generation of SEALs. And so when I got home, I took over the training for the West Coast SEAL teams. Not the training where you see guys carrying boats on their heads and carrying logs around, not that training, but the training where SEALs learn to shoot, move, and communicate. The training where SEALs learn to close with and destroy the enemy. And the training where SEALs learn about combat leadership. And the training that I took over, we wanted it to simulate combat. We wanted it to be as close as it could possibly be to combat. And we went through great lengths to make that happen. We had paintball guns. We had high-speed simunition, which is like you use your real gun, but it shoots paint.
It is not easy to identify the enemy in combat, in war. So what you have to do is you have to control what you can control, right? You got to be prepared. You've got to train. You've got to study. You've got to rehearse. You've got to remain vigilant. You've got to maintain discipline in everything you do, so that when the enemy does reveal itself, you have the ability to outthink it, to outmaneuver, to outfight the enemy. And it's actually the same thing in business, right? The enemy can be hard to identify. Your competitors aren't broadcasting their next move. You don't know what the market's going to do. You can't be certain about the next trend or the next downturn or the next bubble that's going to burst. You can't know those things. So you have to do the same thing. You have to control what you can control, which is you. got to gather intelligence. You got to analyze the metrics that you can track. You got to train yourself and your team to be prepared for both the known and also be prepared for the unknown.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment for more content.